Day 4, Paris lockdown. And this morning I went to the supermarket, and it's quite incredible because many of the shelves are completely empty. No toilet paper, no pasta, no rice, no basic foodstuffs. And I must say, it's really selfish. People just get what they need. However, I do think there could be another reason. Now there's nothing to do. You can't go to the bar, you can't go to the restaurant, you can't go to the Louvre Museum, you can't go to the Eiffel Tower. So what do people do? They say, oh, shall I go to the Moulin Rouge today? Oh no, I can't, no. So what I'll do is I'll just go alone to the supermarket, wheel the trolley around and buy some toilet paper, because you always need toilet paper. Anyway, I have a solution so that I won't starve, and that is, I went to the organic supermarket where everything is 3 times the price, no queues there. I got some this. It's pink radish seeds, and what you do is get the bloody thing open. Okay. What you do is you grow your own, yeah. But I don't have a garden here, or even a balcony. I can't grow potatoes. So what you do is you take some of these seeds. I don't really know actually, and you put it in the water. I should tell you that. Put it in the water. Maybe a few more. Should we do a few more? I have no idea how many we're supposed to do. Is that good? And then you shake it around, and it grows into pink radishes, which you can eat. Of course, I need some protein from somewhere. I might kill a pigeon or something like that, because I can't get anything from the supermarket. So then you wait. Nothing's happened so far. Okay, your grammar questions. So thank you everybody once again for all your grammar questions and vocabulary questions and pronunciation questions. Do continue sending them in. However, I have a lot and I do read them all. I read all your comments, but unfortunately I can't answer all your questions. Well, not right now anyway, but I've got a few today, a few good ones, and I'll start with, this is in Cyrillic, which I can't read, so Artem, I'm not sure. Anyway, you'll know who you are. Could you explain the difference between further and father? Further and father, that's a good question. Do you know the answer? There is a difference between American and British English as well, okay? So in British English, you can always use further, so that makes it simpler, doesn't it? So the comparative of far is far, further, furthest. However, the comparative in American English is far, farther, farthest, if I'm not mistaken. Far, farther, farthest. So British English, further, American English, farther, but there is one case where you must use further and you cannot use farther, and that's when you want to talk about additional information, okay, giving additional information. So further to my last email, I want to tell you blah, blah, blah. If you want some further information, please contact me. There you must use further. But in the other case, New York is further, or New York is farther than London from Paris, okay? So both correct there. Next question. Also Cyrillic name. I'm going to have to learn the Cyrillic alphabet. I really do, because I can't read this. And the the difference between in the end and at the end? That's a good question. So, in the end means the conclusion. Okay, that's the conclusion. At the end means the period of time just before the end. So, for example, they said we were a bad team, but in the end, we won the game. Of course, you might have scored the goals at the beginning of the match, but the outcome, the result was that we won. Okay, we won the game. Right at the end of the game, we scored a goal at the end of the game in the last moment. So that is the difference. So I'll call you at the end of the day, all right? In the end, everything will be okay. Okay, that will be the conclusion. You got it? Right, we'll move on to the next one, which is from Ankita S26, who put her question on Instagram. You can also put your questions on our Instagram page. The correct usage of I and me. That's a good question. So listen to this. Sarah and I went to the party. Me and Sarah went to the party. Which is correct? Well, of course, Sarah and I went to the party as well. And you know that because if you take away Sarah and, then look what you've got. I went to the party. So that's okay. Me went to the party. No, that's not correct. However, native speakers will often use the me form, especially in spoken English. Probably I'll do that myself. So in formal English, in formal written English, certainly I would say Sarah and I, okay, use the subject pronoun. But in informal spoken English, you can say me. And Robin, me and Sarah went to the party. Perhaps you should say Sarah and me. Always put the other person first. You don't want to sound egotistical. Okay. This question is from João Carlos Viana, Portuguese name, I guess, and about the use of due to. Some people say due to. Okay, this is interesting because due to has two meanings, two very different meanings. So one, due to, means because of. Okay, his success was due to his hard work. Due to the current situation, I cannot work. So it's a more formal way of saying because of. But there's also another due to be due to, and that means that something is expected to happen. So you can say the train is due to arrive soon. The train is due to arrive soon. The new law is due to be passed by Parliament this summer. Okay, so as you can say, they're different things. So be careful when you see that phrase, which one they're talking about. Demigod Führer. There we go. NATTER. How do you use the word NATTER? He's asked this question many times, so I'll try and answer it. What's the difference between NATTER and chat? Well, firstly, chat is a more common word than NATTER, but both mean to have an informal conversation. And you probably know the word chat. You might not know the word NATTER, N-A-T-T-E-R, which has the meaning of chatting. I say it's less common than chat. Also, chat, you necessarily need two people, but one person can natter. And usually it's okay, but sometimes it can be pejorative when sort of people natter or natter on. You put on at the end, it means too much. So, for example, in 50 years' time, you're talking about the coronavirus outbreak and you're telling your grandchildren about it. You might say, Oh, I remember, back in 2020, it was terrible. We couldn't leave the house. Oh, and your grandchildren say, oh, stop nattering on, Grandad. Yeah. So I hope you learned something there. Carry on sending me your questions and stay healthy. Bye.